after the boat ride from hell, we're now in the car ride from hell. And yes, we're on the back of a bloody truck. Well, after that little recap of the journey from hell, not only did it include two boat rides of hell and a van trip of hell, we finally made it to the island of Isabela. Now, what I don't know if that video showed or not, but the boat was at a permanent probably 15-20 degree angle the whole time. It was like this constantly, and it was crashing against the waves. The waves were hitting the side of the boat, it was rocking side to side. It was just pandemonium. There was one guy, bless him, he filled 4 bags worth of sick, and these were like the little black dog poo bags as well, so they weren't very glamorous, but bless him, he filled 4 bags. There was another guy who looked like he was ready to jump overboard and just end it all. He looked like he had enough. And not only that, the actual luggage itself, that was flying about as it crashed down. Every time the boat slammed down, the bags flew up. So we made it here, we're safe, we're sound, we checked into the hotel, and we're gonna now go off and explore the island of Isabela. So that's what we're gonna go to today, so let's go. So this whole part of the beach right here, this is all being cordoned off to protect it for the iguanas, where they lay and protect all of their eggs. There's a little flamingo and its baby far off in the distance. Now, one thing that's really important to remember about the Galapagos, so even though there are animals and wildlife everywhere, and whilst they are somewhat, I wouldn't say domesticated, but used to human beings anyway, so that you can get closer to them, it is really important to remember that they are fully wild and fully protected, and it is very, very strictly forbidden to feed or give water to animals or wildlife of any sort. And we've seen a couple of kind-hearted or meaning well tourists where they've gone to give stuff to the animals, and they've been very, very strictly told off. So whilst the islands, they do work to protect the habitats and create healthy habitats for them to live in, it's important for the animals to be able to still forage for themselves and still keep that skill. And whilst these animals are a little bit more closer to home, it's also quite nice just to see the dogs, and the dogs all live and go around in packs. They don't appear to have homes, but they appear to be very well looked after. So it's nice just to see dogs be dogs as well here. So with the dogs here, you won't see, you know, little chihuahuas being carried around in dog backpacks. Mum and Dad, I'm looking at you. We often keep running into this problem of roadblocks. today is going to be hopefully a quite exciting day. We're exploring the volcanic island of Tintoret's, which is a hotbed for white-tip sharks. So after exploring a little bit by foot, we're going to head back to the boat now, get our wetsuits on and go snorkeling. Just swam with a shark, how'd you feel?
I survived.
You can't park that there, mate. So in and around all of the islands that we've been across in the Galapagos so far, we've wondered why the vegetation here is so dry and dead looking, and it almost looked as if there's been a disease or something that's gone along the trees and it's killed everything. But we learnt from one of our guides and one of our tours yesterday that this is purely intentional and purely natural, and it's actually the perfect habitat for giant turtles, for iguanas, for lots of birds. So it's actually the perfect habitat for them, so purely intentional and not dead. We're also currently about an hour and a half into a 2-hour hike to a viewpoint which has the Wall of Tears, and it's also 2 hours back, may I add, and we've had very humid weather, rain, now it's cloudy, so we're hoping for a little bit of sun at some point. This is one of the highest points across the whole island, and it's actually the old site of a radar that America used during World War II, but it's been long dismantled and the materials have been reused in other parts of the island, but this was originally where their radar was. Now I can see in the distance it looks like the rain clouds are now coming back over, so we've got about a 2.5 hour hike back now, so I think we better get going. So that marks our time on the island of Isabela. We're done here, and it was without doubt the best island of all of them. We had a little bit of time on Santa Cruz before coming here, and without doubt this is the best island out of all three. We've had a lovely time here, but we leave today to go back to Santa Cruz, where we've got our final few days in the Galapagos. So today is our last day on Santa Cruz and we're off to a nature reserve called El Chato, not to be mistaken for El Chapo. And on the reserve there's actually two sites. So there's one which is the lava tunnels and the other which is a tortoise sanctuary, tortoise reserve, that you get a guide and takes you around. So it involves getting a bus here first and then about a 4-kilometre walk because we're both a bit too tight to pay the $20 for the taxi here, so we've got a bit of a walk ahead of us. So this brings to the end of what has been an absolutely amazing trip in the Galapagos. You know, it's really been a true bucket list moment. You know, we've survived dodgy boat rides, we've just survived swimming with sharks, we've swum with turtles, stingrays. It's just been really an amazing time. So one thing that I wanted to point out that we learned kind of along the way was just how expensive it is to actually visit and be in the Galapagos. Not only to travel here, but also to travel between the islands as well. So for anyone who is wanting to visit the Galapagos, there's a few things that I would likely be aware of or just likely to prepare for coming here. The main things that I would say to be aware of is the taxes and the transfer costs. So first of all, when you get there, there is an airport tax, which is $20. There is then an entrance fee to the Galapagos, which is $100. You then have boat transfers. So if you were going to all three islands, there are transfers on the boats which are $30 each themselves, and you will likely need 3 of those. One thing that they do catch you out on, which is a small cost but just something to be aware of, is the ferries are actually out in the harbour and you have to get speedboats in between them. So those are $1 each way, so combined with the $30 fees and the speedboats, that came to an additional $96 for those. There is also then a tax for actually entering onto each island. So a combined cost of land taxes was $14. So whilst it's worth absolutely every single penny, it is just something that we weren't aware of, and it's something that is worth considering putting into your budget. So what's next for us? So we are actually leaving South America now and we are going on our next adventure, which is going to be in the Pacific Islands. We do have a quick pit stop off in LA. We're going to fill up on IHOP and In-N-Out Burger and all good American food before going to our first stop, which is going to be Fiji. So join us on the next one and we'll see you soon.